At long last, I could finally sit down and talk about Berserk. It's been way too long, far too long, since I sat down and discussed a Berserk chapter, or anything new about Berserk. To be able to come back to this, it makes me emotional. It really does, because this was a great stepping stone for me, as a reviewer, as a reader of manga, just in general. Berserk was something that I loved and adored so much. The 37 volumes I read, and the extra chapters on top of that, was something I've never really experienced when it came to a manga series. I said it in my reviews. Berserk, in terms of manga, is one of my favorite manga series I've ever read. After what I witnessed with the storytelling, to the foreshadowing, to the characters, just everything with the writing, it just was so good. And to see how my baby is back. And I know everybody, there's fans out there that have been with this series way longer than I have. I know there's been fans with this series for years. I know for a fact you're probably 1,000 times more emotional than I am, because you've all probably had a growing connection with the series for a long time, dealing with hiatus after hiatus, break after break, chapter like once a year, and it's finally back because next month we're getting another chapter in August. I'm so happy. I'm just so happy. And there's a bunch of Chibits that have asked me in the comments. I know how you Chibits feel. I hear you loud and clear. Ever since I finished my Berserk review, my final volume review, Chibits were constantly asking, like, I really wish Berserk wasn't over because I enjoy your reviews. Like, a bunch of Chibits just constantly always told me, I miss your Berserk reviews because they were so good. You noticed things I didn't even notice when I read through it. That's what, you Chibits always told me. And it really just, it gets me emotional to see how I can talk about this again with all of you and be fresh with this content with all of you and talk about it and theorize with all of you with this new stuff that's coming out monthly. To put it in perspective, I did my old classical style of Berserk. If you remember how I used to do it, I wrote down some notes. Yep, I have a tablet, yes, but I did it the classic Berserk style of reviewing, just for, at the very least, for this first chapter that's finally coming back. I decided to write some notes down and do this like I always did. So, Berserk, chapter 330 fucking 8. Oh, okay. I don't know, should I talk about the events before this chapter? Because I know a bunch of you Chibits wanted me to talk about events before this chapter. You know, with the Rickard slapping Griffith in the face, which, holy fuck, dude. That scene, damn. Gonna have some major consequences, because we're already seeing it in this chapter. That just, yeah. I might make a video on that later on. I just want to retain, actually, this video focused on the new chapter and theorize and talk about it. So, first things first, I want to talk about. You have it to where there's advanced technology. That's the first thing that I really want to talk about. Apparently, Falconia, this city, this holy capital, like, the Holy Land, has advanced technology. We get to see, beginner's technology of a fire hose. For instance, ancient technology of a fire hose, but it's actually advanced for Berserk. And to see that, we get to see how the infrastructure, the way the city is laid out, the sewer system to running water, there's so much different things in this chapter that lets us know that the civilization that used to live in this city was very advanced for its time. And it just really goes to show you how much, progression, or digression, actually, not progression, digression, that humanity has taken since the fall of that Holy Land. I mean, you gotta think about it. I mean, for there to be, like, a system for fire hoses, running water, and then sewer, and all that type of stuff, and it's so sophisticated compared to what we've normally seen throughout Berserk, it just goes to show you how civilized this is. And it still scares the fuck out of me. In my final review, I think I said it in volume 37, or I might have not even said nothing. I might have not, because when I read, the latest chapters I never reviewed, I remember in my mind I was thinking, like, This entire area, with humanity being surrounded by demons, with the demon mosh pits and shit going on, you know, where the demons fight each other, it scares the fuck out of me because this reminds me a lot of the setup of how the earlier parts of Berserk was. For instance, let me explain. As we found out a long time ago, this capital city fell. It fucking fell. And if you think about it, doesn't this look like it's setting up for some form of eclipse or sacrifice? All these people, all these humans, humanity, coming into one area, surrounded by demons? Enough said. Enough said. Seriously. It reminds me a lot of like a mock eclipse or just going for another fucking eclipse because that's the way it's going. And it scares me. It really does scare me, the way it's going. But that is for another video, another day, but that is a theory. Thing is, getting into the chapter. Right at the beginning of the chapter, we see the aftermath after what Rickert did to Griffith, after fucking slapping him in the face. Or it's kind of like this, he slaps him in the face. We get to see the aftermath of that, and in the panels we see, the first 2 pages, Rickert's, you know, just walking off. He's just walking off, and then you see Griffith's face. You don't see Griffith's eyes or anything, you just see his mouth, like his lower part of his face. From what you can get from that panel, it makes me, as a reader, assume that Griffith was kind of in a point to where he was either saddened or kind of frustrated. One of those other 2 points of emotions, because if you look closely at Griffith's mouth in this chapter, right at the beginning, the second page, the top panel, you see Griffith's mouth's kind of like wobbly, wiggly type stuff, and it kind of looks like a face that someone's either frustrated or someone that is sad. It's one of those type of faces, and since we can't really see his eyes, we don't know what face he was really making. So we really don't know at the end of the chapter when we come to find out that Rickert's life is being come after by the, you know, the assassin dude. I think his name is, Roxas, or whatever, Roxas. I forgot how to pronounce his name. It's, you know, Raksas. The dude, he pops up trying to take Rickert's life. He puts a knife to his throat, and I thought Rickert was dead, because this is Berserk. And, you know, Berserk will do that type of shit. So I thought Rickert was just downright dead when I saw that. But thank God the Bakudaka clan, you know, came and saved Rickert. I'm happy to see that, because I don't want to see my boy Rickert die yet. He has a lot of roles to play. I don't want to see him die yet, because I want him, at the very least, to see that bastard Griffith for what he really is. I really do. But back into case in point earlier, beginning of the chapter, Griffith seems like he's a little bit either frustrated and worried. And on the outskirts of this, you have to wonder, did Griffith send out the kill order to kill Rickert? Or was it Locust? Now, right behind Griffith, up above, you see Locust looking at Griffith down below. You see it to how he gives his face, his angry face, and he puts his hand on the concrete like this stone and just cracks it with his hand. So he's obviously angry. And from what you can get from this, there's 2 outcomes, like I said. Either Griffith has sent an assassin to kill Rickert, or Locust sent it, just because he's pissed off that his god got slapped in the face. One or the other 2. So, I wonder how the outcome is going to be, and I wonder if Griffith did it, or if it was Locust, because depending on who does it, Griffith might get and snap at Locust for what he's trying to do, but we'll see. We'll see. Now, past that, now that I've covered advanced technology, what Locust did or Griffith did with the emotions attached onto that, Luca. Okay, Luca is a character I just want to take a few moments to say I am so glad she is back. I know she came back in the last couple chapters, you know, the chapters I did not review after, you know, Volume 37, she came back in the Falconia Civilization. I didn't talk about it, so this is kind of fresh in terms of video-wise. I'm glad she is back, I really am. I loved her so much from the Tower of Conviction arc. She was such a good character. She had so much room as a character to be one of the most iconic characters in the series, because I just love her so much. Even though her beginnings were very, she started off kind of like a whore, I like how her character has progressed in such a mature figure. I mean, seeing what she said to Rickert in this chapter is why I love her character so much, and why I respect her, and that's why I said in my Tower Conviction arc reviews, when I got to the final parts, when, you know, Luca disappeared, I'm like, I hope she does come back later on down the road, because she's such a good character that I want to see more of, and so I'm glad she's once again back to the main front of the series and going to have, at the very least, some form of major role. I just hope that my theory about the eclipse or a mock eclipse happening with demons eating everybody in the capital is kind of wrong, because I don't want to see her die. She's a good character, and, you know, Kentaro, he'd fuck her over. He would. He'd fuck all his characters over. I don't want to see that shit. I mean, he fucks guts on a daily basis, so please don't do this to me, okay? There's a lot of good characters in that capital I don't want to see die, but back on Luca, okay? So Luca gives some advice to Rickard. And the advice you see is something I actually have to admire about it. It makes a lot of sense. It's very mature. For instance, Lucas says to Rickard, like, no matter what you do, if you, have, far-off friends or loved ones or close loved ones or, dead or whatever, you'll always have regrets. Like, no matter what you do with your life, for instance, whatever choice you choose, if you want to go this path or that path, if you want to go with the left road or the right road, it doesn't matter. You will always have these haunting regrets around you. It'll always be there. No matter what you do, you'll have regrets and wish you did something differently, no matter what path you choose. And so Luca was kind of saying, like, no matter what you choose, and no matter if you feel these regrets, you shouldn't let the regrets control you and get to you. That's kind of what that meant. And I like how Luca showed that maturity, because those regrets, actually, that she was talking about was actually coming from her past in the Tower of Conviction arc, because as we know, she had a lot of regrets in the Tower of Conviction arc, and also how she overcame it, and she also, became very strong-willed after the circumstances she overcame in that arc. So it was kind of like Luca was telling her past backstory to Rickard in a certain way with, some form of just letting him know, don't let it get to you. That's kind of what it is. And so that is that right there. Getting into the final part, you have it to where Rickard almost is about to die. The Bakudaka clan is coming in to save him, so that's good news. But Rickard's still not out of, danger yet, because you gotta go figure that dude, okay, Roxas or whatever, I'm just gonna call him Roxas until I figure out the proper, pronunciation. That dude is an apostle, as we know, so he's not gonna be a fucking pushover. And I mean, this dude did promise Griffith a long time ago, I think around volume 28, maybe? 29? It is around way in there. He promised Griffith that I will come for your head and cut off your head. That's what the dude said. I remember that, because, like, dude, this dude is shady. I remember saying that, but he most likely might be an ally eventually. So for him to say something like that, it just makes me wonder where his character is going to go, because we don't know much about that dude, but he is a very shady character, and he is an apostle. So can the Bakudaka clan go up against someone like that? Many questions. But overall, I have to say, this chapter of Berserk, fucking amazing. As always, it's Berserk, dude. Oh my god, I love Berserk so much. I cannot wait to review next month's chapter. I really can't. So tell me your thoughts. How do y'all feel about this series being back? You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.